Alright, so today I want to introduce you to the Acquila ball python. The Acquila actually consists of two genes, the bamboo and the enchi. And when it comes to common names for ball pythons, I'd say this one's probably not in use that much anymore. As a matter of fact, Acquila is an Italian word and it means eagle. And the really confusing thing is the same exact spelling is a Spanish word pronounced completely different, and it means here instead of eagle. So, you know, you have a common name like that that has kind of this bilingual barrier, and you're like, all right, is this a Spanish word or is it an Italian word? And what is the proper pronunciation and what is the real meaning of this word? It gets a little bit confusing. It gets confusing to the point where people have pretty much dropped the common name and just went to bamboo enchi as far as what they're calling their ball pythons. And as a matter of fact, this is a bamboo around my neck trying to get away. This is Bobby, my bamboo ball python. He is a 7-year male. And when it comes to bamboos, one of the best things that you can mix with a bamboo is enchi. And I'd say bamboos are really challenging working into a lot of other combos. A lot of times you can kind of run into problems where the bamboo is so visually dominant, it masks a lot of the other genes. And one of the keys to making really cool combos is working enchi into the bamboo. So today I want to jump over the internet and I want to show you the amazing potential of the bamboo enchi ball python. Alright, so I'm going to jump over here on Morphmarket.com and I want to start with the bamboo. This is what Bobby looks like. This is actually a picture of Bobby. He is a bamboo. I actually bought him over here on Morphmarket. I bought him as a proven breeder. As a matter of fact, he's the oldest bamboo that was listed over here on Morphmarket. He is, I think he's from 2013. He is pretty old and it's 2020 now, so he's like 7 years old. Pretty amazing. I actually bought him at 1,300 grams. I haven't weighed him, but he is doing really good. He's a really big male bamboo, and a lot of people, I've actually brought him to shows and people picked him up and felt him. They were really surprised that a male ball python could actually get that big. It's kind of amazing. And the cool thing about Bobby, and kind of like half the bamboos that I've seen over here on Morphmarket, is a lot of them have these little heart patterns on the side of the side. It's kind of an interesting anomaly with the bamboos. I never really noticed it until the last couple of years, where you really look at some of the heart patterns looking on other genes and other combinations, and you kind of see one once in a while, just kind of a random anomaly. And it seems like with bamboos, a lot of times you get, maybe half the time you get hearts on the side of the snake. It's just kind of one of those crazy things. And the bamboo is really similar to the spider in appearance. Looks almost like the spider web pattern of the spider, and even the white coming up the side looks like a spider. But the difference between the bamboo and the spider is if you breed two bamboos together, you'll get a super bamboo that is an all-white snake with blue eyes. It's actually in the blue-eyed leucistic complex. And if you try to breed two spiders together, a lot of people say it's a lethal combination and you don't actually get the super spider. Although I have heard reports of some people producing super spiders. Although if you actually come over here in Morphmarket and search for super spider, you won't actually find one. It's kind of interesting. Here is another gene you can work into bamboo. Take a look at this. This is the enchi, and the enchi is known as a pattern reducing gene. A lot of times it'll really reduce the pattern. Sometimes it'll give you like tiger stripes. Sometimes it'll just slightly reduce it. And I think there's different versions of enchi that some of them are really intensely pattern reducing and some of them hardly reduce at all. And they're not really differentiated between the different lines of enchi. As far as I know, all different lines of enchi are compatible, meaning you could breed them together and get a super. And kind of the other cool thing about the enchi is a lot of times it'll bring out a lot of oranges in a lot of your combinations, like a yellow-orange color. Pretty amazing characteristic of the enchi ball python. So here's what happens if you take the enchi and you breed it to the bamboo. Take a look at this. This is, I'd say this is kind of an unusual version of an enchi bamboo. I kind of found this one over here and I was pretty amazed that this version actually has, well, almost like tiger stripes, which is the first time I've seen this. It can be pretty variable and it seems like it almost dominates the bamboo in this combination, which is kind of unusual. I actually brought up another one, a little more typical version of the enchi bamboo. And look at this crazy snake. This is pretty wild. Working enchi into the bamboo. Essentially what it does is it kind of clears up the sides, brings a little orange color into it, really cleans it up, and it brings most of the pattern right to the top and kind of scrambles up the pattern. Makes for a really amazing combination. As a matter of fact, if you took the bamboo enchi and you bred it to another bamboo, you could actually make a bamboo super enchi. And take a look at this. I pulled up a bamboo super enchi, and this is like the wildest snake that I've ever seen, working 2 copies of enchi into the bamboo. I saw this and I was like, all right, that is a project I need to go after, the super enchi bamboo. And you can definitely tell 2 copies of the enchi really reduce the pattern into like little blobs coming right down the back of the snake, like almost little tiny circles, like spots or something. And you know, 2 copies of the enchi really bring out a lot of the orangish color too. And it's pretty surprising that the super enchi can actually dominate the visual appearance of the bamboo, which is pretty unusual with a lot of combinations. So here is the pastel, and the pastel is kind of a tricky gene working it into bamboo. As a matter of fact, I bred my bamboo to a pastel one of my first years, and I produced a whole bunch of snakes that looked like bamboos, and I could not for the life of me tell the difference between a bamboo and a pastel bamboo. And it's only until they start aging a few months where the pastel really starts brightening them up, and it's really obvious after they get a little bit of age, and then the pastel starts shining through. But when they hatch, it's really hard. But if you actually work it into the bamboo enchi, take a look at this. This is what it looks like. This is the bamboo pastel enchi, and you can definitely tell the enchi brings in a little bit of orange, and then the pastel in combination with the enchi is really bringing out a lot more color, which is kind of unusual for bamboo. Usually, I'd say most bamboo combinations are almost a xanthic looking because it's so visually dominant. And to actually get some color breaking through a bamboo combo is pretty unusual. This is a pretty amazing combination. So here is the fire, and the fire is kind of an interesting gene. It's actually in the black-eyed leucistic complex. So if you breed 2 fires together, you will get a super fire, which is an all-white snake with black eyes. It's also, you know, a lot of people think that sulfur is the same as fire, just a different line. You can actually breed a fire to a sulfur and get an all-white snake with black eyes too. And fire, usually when you mix it in with other combinations, a lot of times what it'll do is it'll really lighten and kind of clean up the background in a lot of combinations. Fire, it works really well, especially if you mix it in with pastel or yellow belly or orange dream. Some of those, it'll actually really intensify the brightness. You can make some really bright and flashy snakes if you work in fire with those combinations. And kind of the cool thing with a xanthic, speaking of axanthics, if you work pastel and fire and yellow belly into an axanthic, you get a really stark white background, like completely opposite of the bright yellow snake. It's kind of an interesting effect. So here's what happens if you work fire into the bamboo enchi. Take a look at this combination. That is pretty amazing. And it really cleans up the background and really lightens it. And you can definitely tell it looks almost exactly like the fire enchi, like the enchi bamboo, but then you work the fire into it and it just really lightens it and cleans it up. Pretty amazing combination. So here is the spider. Speaking of spider, this kind of looks similar to the bamboo. I'd say the bamboo and the spider are probably, you know, the bamboo is probably as close as you can get to the spider. Well, you can actually get, the woma's pretty close, and the hidden gene woma looks pretty close to a spider. They almost look like enchi spiders or something like that, but the bamboo's pretty close too. And the spider is pretty amazing when you work it in with the bamboo, especially with enchi. So take a look at this. When you actually work spider into a bamboo enchi, take a look at this crazy snake. That is absolutely breathtaking. The bamboo enchi spider, pretty amazing. And it really brings a lot of the pattern just to this little, like a little squiggly line right down the top. And look at the head stamp on this. And usually if you have spider combinations, a lot of times you'll get these really crazy patterns on the top of the head, which is really amazing. That is a pretty stunning combination. So here is the Mojave. The Mojave is actually in the blue-eyed leucistic complex, and so is the bamboo. So if you actually breed the Mojave or the bamboo with anything else in the blue-eyed leucistic complex, like the bamboo, the Russo, the Mojave, the lesser, the phantom, the mocha, the special, the mystic, all those are actually in the blue-eyed leucistic complex, and they'll make white snakes and sometimes, and with certain combinations, you'll actually get like kind of a purplish colored snake if you have combinations like the Phantom and the Mojave, something like that. But if you actually work the Mojave in with the bamboo and the enchi, take a look at this, you get an all white snake with blue eyes. As a matter of fact, this one's actually listed as, there's other genes that you can actually have in the white snake. So this is a Mojave bamboo, which overwhelms all the other genes in the combination. This one's possible enchi, so it could be there's enchi in there, and it could have black pastel. And sometimes you can get a really good deal on some of these white snakes if you're looking for a lot of new genes in your collection, and you pick up a white snake with maybe possible 3 or 4 genes. A lot of times you can pick them up at a real bargain and kind of gamble that there's those genes in that blue-eyed leucistic. And sometimes you can actually win, and sometimes you can lose depending on the breeding and the odds. But sometimes you can actually, I'd say in most cases, a lot of people will actually sell these for the price of a blue-eyed leucistic. As a matter of fact, the Mojave bamboo is a little bit more expensive than like a Mojave lesser or something like that, because the bamboo is a little more expensive than either the Mojave or the lesser. So I've actually produced some bamboo lessers. Let me tell you, sometimes they can be a hard sell because usually they're a little bit more expensive than the white snake on the display table on the other side of the reptile show. And people are like, hey, why is your blue-eyed leucistic, your white snake, why is it more expensive than this other one? And you kind of have to explain that it's all about the genes in the combination. So here is the Pinstripe. And when it comes to visual dominance, the Pinstripe is really visually dominant too. The Pinstripe is one of my favorites. As a standalone gene, it is really super bright gold. Sometimes it's hard to capture like the bright metallic gold of a Pinstripe when you take a picture of it. And it's kind of interesting on the Pinstripe, it has these little alien heads that you'd see like on a normal ball python, but they're all scrunched together on the side of the snake. Makes for a really interesting appearance. And here's what happens if you work the Pinstripe into the bamboo enchi. Take a look at this. And this is kind of an interesting picture because I've actually produced bamboo pinstripes that were almost like a metallic color. It almost has like a metallic silver sheen, almost like an iridescence to them. And I'm thinking you can't even really capture it in a photograph. It's pretty amazing. And you can definitely tell the Pinstripe is in there. It really kind of jumbles up the pattern up along the top of the snake. And this is actually a really good building block for other combinations. I've actually produced the bamboo Pinstripe with the pastel, and that looks super metallic, like a bright silver snake. Pretty amazing. And you can actually work spider into this combination. So if you actually work spider into the bamboo enchi Pinstripe, I actually pulled one up here. Take a look at this one. This is crazy. This is a bamboo spinner possible enchi. Take a look at that crazy combo. And it seems like the genes that work the best with the bamboo seems like it's, I'm kind of leaning towards more and more the spider and the enchi in combinations. And sometimes some of the Pinstripe combos are pretty amazing when you work it in with bamboo. So here is the blade. This gets a little bit confusing. As a matter of fact, when I first started in ball pythons, people were listing blade clowns over here on Morphmarket. And when I first started, I thought, all right, blade is just a reduced version of a clown, which is what I thought it was. And then people started selling blades that were separate from the clown. So the blade is actually a separate gene. You can separate it from the clown. You can actually see this one's het clown. I've actually seen blades that aren't het clown at all. And blade is kind of another version of enchi. It really reduces the pattern of the snake. So here's what happens if you work blade into a bamboo enchi. Take a look at this. This is kind of interesting. As a matter of fact, if you actually compare this to the bamboo super enchi, it looks completely different. Remember the super enchi kind of had the little circles, like the kind of the little blobs all down the back of the snake, and you actually work the enchi and the blade together. It acts completely different than the super enchi. I'm convinced that the blade is not necessarily another line of enchi. As a matter of fact, I was wondering if this combination was allelic. So if it actually was another version of enchi, you can actually go over to some of the genetic calculators and type in enchi blade, and then you can kind of determine if it's allelic or not. So I actually went over to both calculators, both genetic calculators, one on the World of Ball Pythons and one on Morphmarket, and both of them showed me that it's not an allelic combination. So that's not, you know, compatible with each other. It's not like two different versions of enchi. So technically you could actually have a bamboo super enchi super blade, which would be kind of a crazy combination. I've yet to see anyone make the super enchi super blade combo with the bamboo. So here's the last one I want to show you. This is a kind of an interesting anomaly. This is the Pastel GHI. The GHI is a dark morph, so it really darkens the background of a lot of combinations and really scrambles up the pattern. And then when you add Pastel to it, it really brightens it. You get a really impressive combination. And this is the only combo that I've seen mixed with the bamboo to where you can't even tell if bamboo's in the mix, and you get a really impressive combination. So this is what happens if you actually work Pastel GHI into the bamboo enchi. Take a look at this crazy snake. If someone had me this snake, I would not guess that bamboo was in the mix. That is pretty amazing. As a matter of fact, I was wondering how much this was. I haven't even looked at any of these prices. This is pretty amazing. This is $550. And sometimes the bamboos can be kind of tricky. Sometimes people can sell them for kind of on a low end and sometimes on a high end. I've seen a really big price difference between different versions of the bamboo, especially when you're making bamboo combinations. Alright, so it is time for the question of the day. And Python Palooza asks, when are the bamboos supposed to hatch? And that is a very good question. As a matter of fact, I do have some eggs in the incubator that have been cooking for almost 2 months, and I'm down to the last week. They should start hatching here in about 8 days. As a matter of fact, I'll probably go in a couple days before that and cut them open and kind of peek inside. This is actually a combination between my bamboo calico that I crossed with a really big pastel. I actually got 10 eggs out of that clutch, and those eggs are looking really good. So I should get 10 hatchlings out of this. And I'm actually shooting for, as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to probably hold one of these back. I'm shooting for the Pastel Bamboo Calico. I actually produced one before, and I kind of brought it to a reptile show. I was showing it off, and some guy offered me a lot of money for it. I was like, all right, I'll sell it because this year I can actually make another one, and that is the plan. Hopefully I'll actually hit that. And with 10 eggs, I'll probably hit the 3 gene combo. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.